Hello everyone. I wanted to get on really quick and kind of talk about kind of a little bit of where I am, but with a broader topic in mind. And since I am on this roller coaster of spirituality, I'm going to talk about just one thing in particular, and that is spiritual awakening. I've been watching quite a few videos, but I watched a video like a week ago. It was a really good video, and the lady that was talking about it had such great points. And one of those is, it's basically like the red pill, blue pill type of scenario. When you have that spiritual awakening, it's coming to a realization of how you really feel about anything. Life in general, but like so many different facets. And, coming to a realization, and not only that, but then embracing it, right? Like, really grabbing a hold of it, saying, okay, this is now how I see things, and how painful this process can be. And she talked about spiritual awakening as if it was something that kind of happened overnight. And then she didn't stop there. It's a process that goes on for the rest of your life. But that's the only thing I think I somewhat disagreed with her on personally is, to an extent, like spiritual awakenings, I think that they can happen in a split second, or parts of them can, like when coming to some sort of realization, that's a spiritual awakening. But the whole thing, I don't become spiritually awakened in a day. That doesn't happen. My process began years and years and years and years ago, and and I can tell from experience. So let me tell you, if you don't know, I'm a recovering addict. I'm open about it. I don't have any shame about it. So, I've had my issues and I'm working on it. But this is so, it relates so well to addiction and what happens when one gets clean, or what should happen, okay? When one puts down any kind of substance, alcohol, liquor, drugs, no matter what the drug is, when one puts that down and then keeps it put down and goes on to live their life, they need to replace it with something. So if nothing has changed, if no part of my life changes, when I put a substance down, I'm going to be in a shitload of pain because I have used that substance to help blind me from reality. I've used it because I find reality or certain situations painful. So I would use substances to change my thinking so that I didn't have to go there. I didn't have to think about it, and I certainly didn't have to change. So if I put it down and don't do anything, I still have that pain, but nothing to cover it up with. And that's what, that's what drives me to change and grow spiritually as a human being, as myself. Because I know I can't act out on old shitty behavior, because I don't want to. Like, it'd be extremely painful, as well as immoral, but we're not going into morals. Let's not go really into morality. So I have to grow spiritually. I have to learn new ways of coping, and so the same can be said of going into a spiritual awakening. If one realizes, comes to this realization, and then tries to ignore it or acts out in, what can I use as an example? Let's use something kind of, I have a friend that said that back, when they were using, okay, they, if they ran over an animal or they went out hunting with friends or something like this, a lot of the guys would, or women, whoever was there, would kind of, they'd make fun of the animals. They would be very careless. They didn't care about the death of animals. They just didn't. And he said that always bothered his soul, that he really does have a deep respect for living things, animals, and, being holding them somewhat sacred. But he never let that, he didn't feel like he could tell his friends that because the blowback he would get, right? And so he would go along with it. And it wasn't a huge issue because he used, and that could block everything. It could block all the discomfort he felt from doing whatever he was doing to animals or going along with the guys, And since he had gotten clean, he was able to be honest about that and say, I can't do that. I don't like to go hunting anymore. I don't, there's certain things I just don't like. If he were to go hunting, or say, I don't think he's a vegetarian, but say that he was, and he continued to still eat meat, there would be a lot of pain. It would be going against what he had opened up his eyes to, what he had let in, what he, was telling, what his soul was feeling. And he wouldn't have any liquor or drugs to help, to help cover that up. So one must change. One must not go hunting. One must not go hunting. I like that. So I have gone through a lot of pain in my spiritual awakening. It is, and one of the topics that was brought up that in the video that I watched was how painful it is both to stay in the same spot, and it's painful to change. It's very painful to change. There are people you have to let go. There are situations you have to let go of. There are things you must forgive. There are actions that you have to take if you want to feel better after opening up your eyes to your new reality. You can't stay stuck in the dark if you want to feel decent about yourself. And I was watching a show called Billions, which it's a good show. It doesn't speak to my soul, just because it's about, stockbrokers, making disgusting amounts of money. But it's still a good show. And in the show, the team therapist for all the stockbrokers had made a very immoral mistake. She did something that was, ruined her integrity, made her feel just terrible, ruined her, for a moment. And she had the option of getting honest or not, just going on with her life and saying, we're going to pretend like that didn't happen. I'm going to pretend like that didn't happen, and I'm not going to get honest about it. And then she had the option of getting honest, and surprisingly, she got honest. Good for her, right? But she said afterwards, when she was talking to somebody, she said, the pain, she said, there is a lot of pain that now comes with the fact that I have lost my doctor's license, and pain that people don't look at me the same and may not trust me as a therapist. There's a lot of pain in that, and I'm coming to terms with that. She said, but, she said, there is so much nourishment from the fact that I did the right thing, that is the long term. That's long-term nourishment. So she said, I'll sacrifice myself and the pain that I'm going to feel for a brief moment in time here for the nourishment that I'm going to get from being an honest human being. And that really spoke to me and what I've had going on in my life right now. So, wow, that was a lot. So, yeah, my spiritual awakenings, let's put an S on that, have been happening for a long time. And there have been many moments throughout my life, many periods of time, where I have kept myself, held myself back, even though I knew how my soul and spirit felt about something. And I just kept choosing to ignore it. It was, for the moment, although painful, it was the easier thing to do, in my opinion. And recently I made a decision to stop doing that with a couple of things. And so I made a decision that has been one of the hardest decisions that I have made in such a long time. And I totally feel those therapists' words. And I don't want to get into that decision, but I will say it's fucking painful. The choice that I made and the blowback that I knew I would receive and chose to make that decision anyway. The blowback is extremely painful, and there's an emptiness inside, and I'm trying not to cry. And it hurts. And it hurts. So it fucking hurts. But, you know, I know that I did the right thing. And if I'm really trying to be spiritual and really trying to awaken to what my soul is and what it's reaching for, then I have to make those tough decisions, you know? And I said to somebody last night, you know, probably because I'd watched that, you know, that show a couple days ago, but I said, you know, I'm probably not going to sleep well tonight, and I probably won't sleep well for quite a few nights, for quite some time, because it hurts. But it will be because of that hurt, not because I am lacking moral integrity. You know, if I can't sleep, at least it's for the right reason. And I'm not awake at night thinking about all the things that I should have done or should be doing, or choices that I know morally I should be making. I'm not staying awake at night because of those. I'm staying awake because I made a tough decision, and the fallout really hurts. And, you know, that's just where I am with my spiritual awakening now. There are still so many things I know that I definitely need to work on, that I remain willingly blind to. Like, they're there, but I do everything I can to kind of ignore them, because I'm like, one thing at a time. I can't change everything at once, you know. I can't do it. So, that's where I am, and it can be a very, very lonely process, especially when and if it involves having to make decisions with other people in your life. So, you know, I just kind of wanted to share that little experience and my thought process there, and to say to anybody out there, I'm so emotional these last couple of days. Say to anybody out there that might be going through something similar, you know, or if you're on the verge of, you know, making some kind of decision like this, you know, you're never alone. You're never alone, you know. It might feel like it, but I'm there, and there are other people in the world that are there, and it is one of the bravest things, in my opinion, that any human being can do, is to make a decision that they know others are not going to like or appreciate, but know that they have to feel all right with themselves at the end of the day, to make that decision. You know, it is one of the hardest things that I think we as human beings can do. So, you're not alone, you know, and that's it. Bye.